We run into it every single day, but what really is personal selling? Is it just some kind of magic trick, a smooth pitch from a charismatic person? Or is there a disciplined, learnable system hiding in plain sight? Well, in this explainer, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to break down that system, moving from the art of the pitch to the science of the process.
First, we'll get into the art of a single conversation. Then, we'll map out the structured, step-by-step process that's behind pretty much every successful sale. After that, we'll look at the huge leap from being a great seller to being a great leader. And finally, we'll see how you build an entire sales engine from the ground up.
All right, let's dive right in with the art of selling. Because before we can even talk about process or management, we have to get to the core of it all, and that's the human-to-human connection. At its heart, personal selling is really just a direct person-to-person conversation. It's not like a billboard or a TV ad that's shouting one single message at millions of people. Nope, this is a dynamic dialogue with just one customer. And that focus, that's precisely why it's one of the oldest and still one of the most effective ways to make a sale. And this is where you really see its power. Advertising, that's a one-way street. It's a monologue, right? You send out this fixed message and then you just wait. But personal selling, that's a two-way dialogue. It's flexible, it's adaptive, and the feedback is instant. The message can literally change on the fly, which is absolutely crucial when you're trying to sell something complex or really high value. But here's a really common misconception. The word salesperson doesn't describe just one job. It's actually this huge category that covers a bunch of different roles, and each one requires a totally different skill set and level of creativity. So let's meet the different players on the field. First up, we've got the order taker. You know this person. It's the associate in the store who helps you find the right size, or the rep who calls a regular client just to restock their supplies. They aren't really creating new demand. Their job is to efficiently take care of demand that's already there. Next is the goodwill builder. Now, their goal isn't to get an immediate order. It's to educate people and create demand for the future. The classic example is a pharmaceutical rep explaining a new drug to a doctor. See, they're not closing a sale right there. They're planting the seeds for thousands of future prescriptions. Then you have the sales engineer. This person is as much a technical consultant as they are a salesperson. They use their deep, expert knowledge to help a client design a totally custom solution, like an engineer configuring a whole new system for a factory. In this case, the product isn't just sold, it's practically co-created with the customer. And finally, we have the creative seller. These are the folks who tackle the toughest challenge of all, selling the invisible. We're talking about things like insurance, software, or an education. Their job takes a ton of creativity to make an abstract idea feel totally real, concrete, and absolutely essential to the customer. So, no matter which type of salesperson you are, success isn't just about winging it and hoping for the best. It's also a science. The absolute best in the business follow a very structured, repeatable journey. We call it the sales process. Okay, so the first half of this process, it's all about doing your homework. It starts with preparation. You got to know your product, your customer, and your company inside and out. That knowledge then fuels your prospecting, where you find potential customers and, this is key, separate the real prospects from the suspects. From there, you go into the pre-approach, researching those qualified prospects to really understand what they need. And only after all that prep work do you finally make your approach, ready to make a killer first impression. Now we get to the actual interaction. It kicks off with the presentation, where you connect your product directly to their needs, often using a model like AIDA to grab their attention, build their interest, create desire, and finally prompt them to take action. Next, you expertly handle any objections they have. Once their concerns are taken care of, you move to closing the sale at just the right moment. But wait, the job's not done. That final step, the follow-up, is what turns a one-time transaction into a real long-term relationship. Here's a really important mindset shift for you. An objection isn't a no. It's actually a sign of engagement. It means the person is thinking seriously and just needs more information. That's why the golden rule is to never argue. You welcome the objection, you show them respect. Think of it as a request for help, not a declaration of war. So, how do you know when it's time to close? Well, the pros are always on the lookout for what they call buying signals. These are subtle little cues that the customer is leaning towards a yes. Are they physically moving closer to what you're showing them? Are they asking about the warranty? When you start spotting these little green lights, you know the time is right to ask for the sale. So, once you've completely mastered that 8-step process, you might just become a top performer. And for top performers, the next step is often management. But here's the twist. The skills that made you an amazing seller are not the same skills you need to be an amazing manager. It's a total shift from doing things yourself to leading others. And this is exactly why the best salesperson can sometimes struggle as a manager. You see, a seller's job is all about doing. Their focus is on their own individual sales numbers. But a manager's job, it's about getting things done through other people. The whole focus shifts to team results, and the skill set you need changes completely.
So what does it really take to manage a sales team effectively?
The answer is you have to think like an engineer and build a sales engine. A great sales team doesn't just happen by accident, right? It's carefully constructed piece by piece. And like any big construction project, it all starts with having the right materials, which means finding the right people. So, when you're building a team, managers are looking for core traits that go way beyond just charm. Honesty, reliability, being a self-starter. This stuff is about character. And yes, you are seeing that right. Good handwriting is on the list. It's this fascinating little detail from a pre-digital world that reminds us that clear, reliable record-keeping has always been a cornerstone of professional selling.
Okay, so once you have the right people, you have to motivate them. And let's be honest, money is a pretty good place to start. A really popular way to do this is a mix, like you see here. A base salary that gives them security and stability, combined with a commission that gives them a direct incentive to perform. You could say the salary pays the bills, but the commission, that rewards the hustle.
But here's the thing, money is only half the picture. The best managers understand the power of what some people call psychic wages. These are the simple leadership principles, like praising your team in public, but coaching them in private, respecting their ego, letting them have a say in setting their own sales targets. These actions build a kind of loyalty and motivation that money alone just can't buy. So, we've gone on a journey from a single conversation all the way to building a complete sales engine. And that leaves us with one final thought. The next time you're in a sales situation, are you going to see it as just a pitch? Or will you now be able to see the invisible process at work, the research, the signals, and the entire structure behind that human connection?